These will be my thoughts on Gary, the one-off kind of in between seasons 4 and 5 thing for The Bear. It's for ages 16 and up, so will this video be? Yeah, I love this. I wouldn't necessarily say it's my favorite The Bear thing. Before I get into spoilers, which is going to be most of this video for this special as well as the first 4 seasons, I guess I'll just very briefly note I did first consider doing the video on this the way that I did for Punisher One Last Kill, but where that one felt distinct from the earlier live action Punisher appearances, this one I'm not 100% sure why this isn't just an episode of season 5. Like, maybe they were married to, I think it's like 10 episode seasons, and they didn't want to get rid of this one. Like, hypothetically, if you've never watched The Bear before, this would be a perfectly fine place to start. There's some character overlap, and I don't really have anything that isn't a spoiler to say that I didn't say in my spoiler-free video. I want to say that was the first 3 seasons of the show itself. Yeah, if you've already watched some The Bear and you like what you saw, this is more of that. Yeah, with that, let's get into the spoilers. So I'm going to try to keep this chronological, more or less. And yeah, so we start with the oh, right. I can't believe I completely blanked. I wanted to, so the it is LGBTQIA plus Pride Month, and this does not really lend itself to reading within that, but in lieu of that, I will recommend a amazing YouTube video. Cat Black's Influencer Suggests Racism as a Solution to AI Data Centers. Fantastic watch. Just really fucked up that it's an actual problem that has to be discussed, but Cat, as usual, does a solid job going over the issue. Anyway, yeah, with that. So, yeah, we open on, the, immediately we can tell this must be a flashback because, not only is Mikey still alive, so's the love that was shared between Rich and Tiffany. So that's obviously an exaggeration. They do still care about each other. It just, I don't know, felt appropriate with the tone of this thing. And yeah, I don't know. They still are really, really sweet together when they're in love. We've seen other flashbacks that had that. And yeah, the honking starts. Very typical Richie. Like, at first I was like, okay, so I know Mikey and Richie are the ones in this, so which one? Oh, Gunn. Definitely Richie then. And yeah, the honking starts, and he goes, yeah. Richie doesn't leave immediately, but he does go to Mikey. And yeah, we can tell from right away that Mike is not happy about this whole thing. And, by the end of the episode, it said, well, yeah, I mean, there was a FedEx strike. Jimmy wanted something delivered. And yeah, I think that does bring us nicely into, I think they did a good job on this thing of, like, here at the start, it's very much that, like, Rich is trying to see the positive, and Mike just wants, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I guess he's a little bit in denial, trying to avoid it, because we find out that he hasn't talked to Jimmy at all day. And then by the end, Mikey wants to stay at the bar, even though the meet has been set up and everything. and now Rich is very mission oriented and not trying to be the fun one and such. And I don't know, I think it has something to say about, we just passed 5:15. Sorry. I think it has something to say about how, like, a lot of grown men, maybe especially like cishet white dudes, kind of relate to each other. Like there's this thing of like who's in charge and who's the fun one, who's the one who's just trying to, and I mean, both of them kind of resent when the other one's the fun one. Neither of them really like, yeah. And yeah, so say what you will about Richie. I certainly have. He picked some fantastic music. And yeah, he, we get the, so he kind of, he irritates Mikey for a while, and then Mikey does laugh and find him charismatic. So a lot like just like how the audience reacts to him, really. And let's see, I think that does, yeah, I mean, if they were going to do this sort of, these are two characters that is always great to see them together. I will literally, if they if Eben Moss Backrack and Jon Bernthal get together every year and make something where we get to watch them, play off each other, I'm willing to watch all of it. Like it's never ever boring. I'm really, really glad that that it's not only that of the Punisher show, the Netflix Punisher show that they did together, that's not the extent of it, because they really are great. Like if by the end of The Bear, which I think probably should be the end of season 5, I think after that they'd probably just be running on fumes, as much as I love the show. I don't know if they end up doing like a just prequel or something where it's primarily just the two of them. I could be okay with that. And let's see. I think that does bring us nicely to, yeah. And so they talk about 5:15. That's, yeah, the second mention of, because she also said it before he left, I believe. Yeah. And yeah, Mikey gets so annoyed. There's thousands of minutes in a day. Why, I mean, close. And also it's this thing of like, technically the what's the word? It's right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, he's obsessing over, why 5:15 specifically. Well, yeah, but I mean, as long as you're before 5:15, it's not a problem. Like they both agree that it shouldn't be a problem, which by the end, of course, if you've watched enough The Bear, you already know they're not going to make it on time. And yeah, that's when we have the let's see. So yeah, they make it. Oh right, yeah, we got the yeah. Before they get into Gary, we do have the bit with the fun facts. And yeah, genuinely, how do you not mention the Jackson 5 before? Like, wow. But the I mean, obviously, I'm not making any excuses for the allegations against Michael, but as far as fame goes, that seems yeah. And yeah, so let's see, they arrive, and I think that's when we have the thing about, I think that's when the calls are, well, call, singular, not plural, is placed. And yeah, the Right. Also, we have the thing about, don't smoke, and, he does, of course. But yeah, I think that's when they play basketball, and yeah, it's I thought the scene did a good job of like straddling this line of like we get the sense of like, it's just like at least to the two of them, to Mikey and Rich, this is just like dudes being bros. This is cool, you can just, but like you do get like, even before it's verbally expressed, like clearly some of these, younger people playing basketball, they're just like, can we just not, and maybe not even say we did, because like we were just kind of hoping to play with each other, and yeah, that thing about it's not the 80s anymore, because that's the thing, like Mikey and Rich are maybe a little bit in denial about not, you know, not being as young as they were, and things having changed in general. And right, I appreciate that. Considering like they don't go the number of like slurs and such is very small, because like they are characters who will sometimes say really fucked up things, and yeah, I thought that was I appreciated that there was at least one R slur. Other than that, I think they call the basketball players girls and daffodil and such, but yeah, they don't go for. I was thinking, are we gonna get the F slur or something? But yeah, and let's see. I think that does pretty much. Yeah, and Mike insists that he doesn't have to stretch, and evidently he didn't. And Rich stretches before, and afterwards goes for some. Well, RFK Juniors, I guess, is probably what they're called by now. If you're like doing that kind of exercise in public in front of other people, and there's you're maybe not wearing the best clothes for the particular. It feels a little like you're just showing off. I don't know. And I think that's when, yeah. And so Rich does not like having to stay inside the car. Oh, I completely forgot that. Sorry, that happened earlier. I like the bit with Mike moving the trash can, and just we hear the thank you from inside, and based on the voice, that definitely sounds like an elderly person. Which, like, if you are young and able-bodied, it really is great to do that for people who need that kind of help. And but yeah, so Mike, back to Gary. Mike goes to score, and they do some of it, and I gotta say, I spent like maybe 10 minutes waiting for Sherry to reveal that she's law enforcement of some kind and arrest him for not just possession, but use. I forget what it's called. Legally, I mean. And but yeah, that didn't end up being the case. But yeah, and sometimes it's just like simple shit. I like the bit with that sign is a sign. And let's see. So yeah, he goes to the bar, and it's not terribly long before he sends Sherry out to get Mike. And another, it's not the fucking 80s anymore. I mean, I wish that nobody had ever thought that it was okay, but yeah, we have the lie that's supposed to like mean that she ends up sleeping with him under false pretenses, which is a form of rape. Just saying. So really glad that she does reveal that she doesn't know, that she did know, rather, Jesus, before they, do any kind of yeah, and yeah. So he does go in, and then he's also drinking too much like Rich is, and let's see. I think that is when we get so the whole fact or fiction game, and yeah, uh, we get a really gross story from Rich, and let's see the yeah, I mean, I do appreciate how much of this is just like an acting showcase for the two of them and also others. Um, my research will sort of check right now, but if I had to guess, I wouldn't rule out that the person they buy hot dogs from is like someone who actually works in a place like that, and they just like asked them a few questions and recorded their authentic, like got their permission for them to appear in this, and yeah, asked them a few questions, got their authentic reactions. It wouldn't be the first time that a bear thing had to, there's some of that on the show, and yeah, I continue to really appreciate their love and respect for actual service workers. Sometimes you'll watch something and it's like, oh, this is fucking Hollywood bullshit. They don't actually care about the people. They're kind of just exploiting them, and yeah, the bear fares better. Anyway, I think the jokes about the name Althea. I mean, I get it. I understand what yeah. And it is, like I do. I'm not sure I'm the right person to judge. I know some people really don't like because they're essentially making fun of people who have a lisp, But the anyway, I thought they did a good job throughout this of having this tension around, the fact that Tiffany is about to give birth. At the start we have, he kisses the stomach or kisses at it, something like that, and we have the 5:15 thing, which he says not very long after they get into the car, and Michael is very angry about it. And then here, later we have the discussion about what name to choose, and then by the end, Michael comes right out and says what he and of course others were thinking, that Rich is not gonna be a good father, which like super fucked up thing to say. And that's, I guess he's in the opposite space of what he described. Oh my God, Donna. Her name is Donna. The Jamie Lee Curtis character, his mother, his and Carmi's mother, because she was like, oh, she was talking through the whole day and it was amazing. He's kind of in the exact other end of that spectrum. But let's see. Yeah. Let's see. So we have wonderfully ridiculous that Rich doesn't just walk the fuck out of the why are you calling from inside the bar? Do you think you're not going to be let back? Do you think they're going to bar you from the bar with a set of bars in case you walk out for like 20 seconds to place a fucking phone call to her? Like, what the fuck? And yeah, so he calls Jimmy, leaves a message, and then gets a call back as he's serving drinks, and then goes to get Mike, and it's revealed that there was no phone call, and very nicely done, because like, yeah, we didn't actually see it. He just walked away from the car. Continue to love the editing and cinematography for all things The Bear. And I guess I feel like there's at least one more thing that I want to say before we get to the the actress who plays Sherry, fantastic job. I thought it worked, the whole thing of fact or fiction, and the thing with Gary Cooper. Okay, it's a sign, and yeah, yeah, so yeah, and you know what he's describing, you know, yeah, like we already knew that Donna really struggled with her, you know, mental health and stability and such, and yeah, hearing this, it really is devastating. Like he thought that now it could be, you know, it could be he could feel safe around her, and she throws that out the window. Like so many Gary Indiana CD soundtracks. And let's see yeah, I also just feel like they did a good job throughout this of, you know, because it's mentioned very early, and yeah, by the end we realized just how hard it hit for Mike, that yeah, you know, he feels really disrespected by Jimmy. He feels like he's being treated as an errand boy. And let's see. I guess that does. So yeah, you know, he's just genuinely doesn't want to do it at all, and it is like he's thinking, you know, why am I not more successful than I am? You know, we do know, you know, once again, I'm spoiling the show itself as well. We know that his depression ends up leading to him committing suicide, and yeah, like in this, we do see like it really bothered him that, you know, all this, and then, you know, he worked so hard at the bear, and then the beef. Sorry, Chicago Original Beef, wasn't that what it was called before it started to be called the bear when Carmy? I think it's been so long since I watched season one. Anyway, yeah, you know, they. I'm just listening. No, that's just rain. It is not thunder, even though it is sounding a little bit intense. It's rain and storm. I see through another window. Anyway, yes, so it is thunder season. Anyway, the yeah, you know, after all that hard work, he's to Jimmy, he's just an errand boy for grocery clerks, and the yeah, you know, it's really fucking with his head and his self-esteem, and the yeah, the you know, I appreciate that Rich does actually apologize. He's like, listen, I don't mean to fuck this up between the two of you, because like he knows why they're in there. There's literally only one reason why they would. It's a fucking bar. Like if they were just talking, they could sit almost anywhere in this fucking place. You know, there's the only reason they would go out there is to take it to the next level. Which, you know, if you are going to do that, just keep in mind the final boss is really intense. So you want to really make sure you have full inventory, healing items, and such. But but no, as mentioned earlier, I really appreciate the, you know, ultimately consent is respected. She's not, you know, trying to get with someone that she thinks is actually, you know, this sports person, a famous sports person. I mean, anyway, I think that is when the what was the other thing? But yeah, you know, so Rich is trying to get Mike out of there, and Mike keeps insisting on staying, and then he says, you know, I thought this was America. Is this America? I should get my turn at fact or fiction. And then he, you know, at first it sounds like, you know, actual, you know, compliments and such, but then he starts talking about, you know, him, you know, yeah, Rich as a father. And yeah, the thing that's so devastating is that obviously Rich himself has thought this, you know. And yeah, like the fact that by the end of it, there's still not an actual apology. Like he tried to, you know, do this gesture of like, oh, you know, we could listen to your music, and it's rejected just as non-verbally as it was presented. And let's see. Yeah, I think that does pretty much cover it. Yeah, and so at the very end, car crash, and I have to admit right now I'm not remembering enough of the other seasons to say if we already know what ends up happening after the car crash or if this is like lead into season 5 maybe. But yeah, I don't know. Right now I'm not really seeing that much of a reason for it to not just be an episode of season 5. Once again, like this, I watching Punisher: One Last Kill, I was 100% like, okay, yeah, this needed to be its own thing from various reasons that I explored in my video on it. But with this, I genuinely, I don't know, because like, I don't know, I feel like if it's just about like, oh, what's gonna happen with with Rich and as a result of this car crash, I don't know, do a 5-minute thing that ends with it. I don't really understand. Like it's almost an entire hour. I yeah. Anyway, I think that does pretty much cover. Yeah, yeah. We have the bit with the you know, the thing. What okay. Well, what does what does that thing do? It rotates. So yeah, I mean, essentially, they don't even really know why they were there. Although, you know, I basically I understand why the story needed to be told. It's just the fact, I don't know, maybe I've made it clear. It's just the fact that it's a standalone that feels a little unnecessary, right? And I appreciate that technically I got to this like, I don't know, several weeks after it first came out, I think, but reasons. Anyway, let's see. The yeah, I think it's like 3 weeks away for the 5th season. I expect to do, I haven't decided if it's going to be more than one episode per week yet, but at least one per week. I expect from when it starts, when the first episode hits Disney Plus here in Denmark. But yeah, so Mikey and Rich barely know why they had to go there, but by the end, they finally got the answer to the question that was raised at the very start of this special. What's in the box?